Email marketing is alive and well. Every couple of years I feel like there's a story about how email is dead, and last I checked I'm still getting them. But it's one of those things where you can look at it a couple of different ways. In the context of demographics, it's like, oh well, kids aren't using email. That may well be, but as soon as those kids get a job, they're definitely checking their email, and it's a part of that sort of professional world that I don't see anything disrupting. I mean, you can still have Slack, but I'm sure that there isn't someone who's a professional and is using Slack entirely instead of email. And then as far as like what it means in a publishing landscape, it's not as sexy. It's a much more direct kind of way of disseminating content. It doesn't have the kind of lever on it that, say, Facebook does. But what we see time and time again is that the email is how we set the ball rolling with a story, and then the conversation is moved into Facebook, into other social platforms, and it has a ripple effect out from there. So our ability to get to the people who have designated themselves as our email audience is the thing that we can use to be this sort of pebble thrown in the pond. We've been doing native since day one. It's always been our ad product, and we have, I would say, developed a best-in-class native solution over the last 11 years, and the way that we are most differentiated now is by heavily reporting on things like brand lift and other third-party verified survey data around what our native content is really doing. Because I think what you can see very easily is that there are a ton of publishers out there creating beautiful content on behalf of brands. Really sophisticated stuff, and in some cases far outstrips what they put out editorially just because of the budgets and some of the expectations. But I think where you're not seeing all that much consistency is how much it's actually promoting the brand's agenda. And so you can get an article in front of 1 million people, but what it's actually doing for the person that paid for it is really kind of inconsistently reported on. And you look at these wrap reports for a publisher's campaign, and a lot of it's editorial metrics, which basically say this is good content, not good branded content. And so for us, we partnered with Millward Brown to do a whole bunch of third-party verified surveying after our campaigns that show people exposed to our content and people not, and the amount of brand lift depending on what they're looking for and depending on what we've optimized the content for. So whether that's brand lift or purchase intent, we go in with an expectation for how we're going to move what needle. We started out basically talking about food and drink, and food and drink was really kind of the easiest place to begin talking to our audience about how to make their day better, how to enjoy your normal daily life more, which is really kind of the mission of Thrillist as a whole. But since we have started, we found that there are a lot of other ways that we can help our audience with the things they encounter in their day-to-day lives, and that's the impetus behind the launch of our entertainment vertical, our health vertical, and our sex and dating vertical. And so we look at all of these things just as our food content is designed to help you make a better choice around how to enjoy your workday lunch or where to go for happy hour with your friends. Really relatable, like useful, contextual service. We look at the opportunity in these other verticals to do the same thing in other aspects of a person's life. The move to mobile has been something that we have been acutely aware of for years now, and I think we have done a pretty good job of staying on top of what that really means for our audience. We're about 70% mobile at this point. I think for a big publisher, I can't think of a bigger challenge right now than the sort of the move toward distributed publishing and making sure that your brand doesn't just make sense on your website, but that you're there when the person is consuming content in an instant article or an Apple News, and that your brand lives just as comfortably and natively in each of these platforms as it does on the website. And you think about, you've got 8 verticals, but these verticals are being consumed in 8 different places. Suddenly you're having to optimize what you do for 64 different contexts, and it's a little daunting.